Content for Devs. The world beyond programming.
Everyone, in the another episode of Content for Devs podcast. Today we have amazing guest. This is Trung Vo from Singapore. And Trung, would you like to introduce yourself a little bit?
Sure. Thanks, Seth. Thanks for inviting me for the talk. Postcard today, where we can share a lot more coming. But before we get started, my name is Trung and I come from Vietnam. Currently living and working in Singapore for a company called Asel. Is very familiar with this company. Actually, we in fact college, but this is kind of one of the first time I talk to Seth. I mainly work on front-end web development and focusing on at the moment. Still working most of the time with Angular and still around front-end is architecture, design, performance. And yeah, I think that's pretty much. Outside of the working hour, I did some of the community work like organizing Angular Vietnam and Angular Singapore, coming to talk to some conferences. And maybe that's one of the things we are going to talk today as well. So very happy to be here and looking forward to talk to you guys.
Yeah, I invited you because you are pretty active in dev communities, especially that you are speaking at conferences, which is challenging and inspiring. But I will get to that in a minute. Before we start, I need to ask about, is Angular dead or no? Because this is ongoing joke in the Ruby community. Like everyone is asking, like, is Ruby dead? But Ruby developers are doing fine. And I need to ask, like, isn't Angular a niche or something?
I mean, if Ruby is, people are joking about it and they still do okay, I guess it's the same situation happened to Angular. Obviously, when you go into Twitter or any kind of social media, you will see more on a new cool technology. It's like you heard about Quick, about Remix, a lot about Next.js and all. You don't see a lot of people talking about Angular, but it is more like Angular is still the downward of the iceberg where all of the cool thing is outside and then Angular is quite so. Still, I guess there's still a lot of enterprise and big application is using Angular, and it's not easily we can see on social media. And the job market for Angular in recent research was showing that it's just right behind React. So I would say the demand for Angular is high and there's still a lot of application. And the team know that there's certain difficulty when working with Angular. So the Angular team was doing a lot of improvement. And 2023 seems to be big. And I'm also looking forward to 2023 in Angular.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's funny that every once in a while you hear about communities dying or languages dying or libraries dying, and that's never true.
Yeah, I think people still are writing in PHP, and Laravel is having like a next birth or something. So it's I rarely care about those.
If there still exists COBOL developers, then nothing is dead.
And recently, I listened to the interview of Derek Sivers on Remote Ruby podcast, and he described how being a Ruby developer was before Rails. And he described communities that were very small, but even in such a small crowds and set groups of people, developers still were doing fine. So before Rails, Ruby was fine, but when Rails gets a little bit less popular than maybe more trendy new tech stacks, then there is like this whole rumor that everything is dying, and this is like funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got interested in your profile because in Astenda you are one of the most active developers in terms of like anything, and especially in terms of helping and giving some tutorials and being active outside of the company. And I wanted to ask you about some conferences that you did make recently, and maybe those that you are most proud of. So which one was there?
Oh, I think I start to, be a lot more active in the community I think during COVID time, because, you just stay at home and there was things to do, but still you feel very isolated from colleagues, from the people that you usually see every day in the company. So I start to talk in a few small local meetup and all. But of course, the most, the one that bring a lot of memory is the most recent one in Rome, where I got invited to talk in the in-person conference. Because since the COVID is kind of easing a bit, and there's a lot of in-person event is resuming because they stopped during the COVID. That's one of my first in-person experience, like talking, because I did maybe like 10 plus or closer to 20, but mostly online, There's a few, in-person in Vietnam, but the one in Rome was one of the most memorable and one of the biggest as well. So,
I have a question about what you just said. What's the difference for you in terms of experience and in terms of preparation between giving a talk live and, in person, and giving a talk online?
Yeah, I would say doing a talk online depends, right? Depends on the conference, on how they organize. But in some, we just need to do a pre-record a video and just send to the organizer. And on the day, they just show it during the time. So you doesn't really have to be there in real life, in real time and do a talk. So when you start to do your own kind of recording, you don't get this anxiety from standing in front of the crowd, like 100 people, 200 people. And it's one of the most frightening thing ever happened to anyone, even same for me. And when you just stay in your room and you have your computer, you maybe have 2-3 screens, you have a lot of things that back up the talk. That's maybe the line you forgot. You can overlook onto the other screen and see. But on the stage, depends. There's some conference they prepare all of this screen thing and you can see it. But I didn't have this experience yet, so I would say it's good to accept quite a lot. So to be honest, in-person conference was probably more challenging comparing when prepared and do it online.
Yeah, I've heard that the two biggest fears of human life are first public speaking and then death. So I imagine that's very hard to do.
Yeah.
But you mentioned that this was the biggest, but you were already engaged into in-person conferences in Vietnam and in Singapore as well, like in a local groups, because you are active in two Angular local groups, Angular Vietnam and Angular for Singapore, right?
Yep, I did.
And so, how would be your experience comparison between this big conference and those local meetups that you attended, but still in person?
Yeah, nice question. I would say one of the I forgot. So the first one I got attended was like last year, like 2022 on August in Vietnam, which is a very cozy size meetup. We had maybe less than 50 people. And there's a venue was nice. And I was there. I was doing some introduction and giving a talk about Angular still. And so in Vietnam, right, because the meetup, the size was not that big and the people was quite new to the Angular. And the talk I was given was hopefully fundamentally and beginner friendly. So I think they seem to enjoy it. Comparing it to Rome, which is a bit different, right? The people that come to NG Rome there's quite a lot of senior engineer who wanted to learn new stuff, or someone who wanted to learn more about architecture or performance and all new thing coming to Angular. So I was preparing a talk which is still a bit on the beginner friendly side, because I don't assume that everyone is senior in the conference, but at the same time giving some new perspective. And I think it went well, because when I was asking like, anyone know about this topic, I think it was a handful of people, like less than 10 over the whole crowd. So it's giving me more confidence. Before my talk was the Angular team talk, the Angular team in Aero. So they was talking. I mean, they queued it. It was really good. And I was so, I have to do it right after though. But then when when the crowd was saying, there's, this is something new that we never know. So it's given me a lot of confidence.
And the general feedback after the conference was positive?
I think I guess it's positive. So right after the conference, we went out for dinner and the main organizer said, the audience seemed to like it a lot. That's why I got a few more minutes extend, because I know that is good. was over time a little bit, but it's fine. It seems like people were enjoying it. So they allow it to be more flexible.
That must feel great. Right?
Yeah. It's obviously, still frightening, but after you have to do it.
Yeah.
So as you said, like it takes a lot of preparation and a lot of stress is involved, some fears to overcome, right? To make a speech in front of people, especially if you have like a senior audience and you just freak out that if you are good enough to speak in front of them. So my question is, why? Like, why this effort? Isn't it easier to just sit down and code from 8 to 9 and just don't care? Why are you so active?
Oh, that's always a hard question. Depends, right? I would say my personality was not that I can socialize in a large crowd of people. It's always like that. I would say the same when I was interacting and talk to most of, like 50% of the people would rather stay at home and, continue improve the lesson knowledge via, personal learning and all. But there's always the sentence saying you have to step out of the comfort zone somehow. So that's why I started. I guess that's one of the reasons why, like, speak at local event or attending conference as a speaker. I would say that it brings some benefit, obviously. So when I need to prepare a talk, I can refine my skill and also gain a new perspective on even the topic that I know or I thought that I know, because you wanted to really talk about something you understand well. You don't want to come to the stage and talk about something that you have maybe you try a little bit and talk about it. This could work. It could be a talk. I don't say it's wrong. But for me personally, I think I wanted to talk about something that I understand deeply, and that's why during the preparation, it's really I just need to read a lot of article, maybe watch new YouTube video to really understand it, so that maybe if there's a question, I can answer it. Other than that, coming to the conference, you obviously there's more network opportunity because seeing people in real life is always different comparing to online meetup. It's always different. You make new connection. Could be valuable in the future. Maybe you can find a mentor then. You never know. You might find a new buddy who really interesting in the framework, like in Angular. You never know. So I think networking opportunity is top notch. And I hope that, coming to the conference and share the knowledge that I know could help other people. I don't know if it's really help them or not. I just hope that what I share might make sense and people can kind of, maybe either get a new perspective, or the best is like what we share, they can apply to the work. Maybe that's the best. I think other than that, it's more like still related to personal. It's like you come to the conference to speak. It could have increased the visibility a lot. I come and speak at one conference. Maybe I got another chance to talk at another conference. You just don't know, right? If the talk is good enough, maybe, other organizer can come and reach out to you. So it brings new opportunity and hopefully visibility. Yeah. I think that's one of the reason why I come to conference. There's a few, but it's all boiled out to, it's also help you. I think the first thing is like, it's helped me. And the second thing is my help other. I learn a lot from, speaking.
Awesome. That's great to hear. But so having that in mind, do you have any, maybe before I ask about that, we have two more questions prepared for some challenges that you needed to face. And in Singapore, you speak English by default. You mentioned that you come from Vietnam. And this is why I wanted to ask, do you face any barriers for talk preparation, maybe some other challenges that you would like to point out for people that would like to start with attending to conferences or speaking at conferences, but they just don't know what to work on to improve?
So I think the answer your first question is about the language barrier, right? Because English is not my native tongue. So I was, when the native English speaker could take just 2 weeks to prepare a presentation. It could take me longer, right? While choosing the language, how to speak, how to engage the audience. Just speak in the manner that could, bring a bit of humor into the presentation. All of that for me is going to always take a little bit longer. Or maybe it take a lot longer than a native speaker, but it's still just a first preparation phase. It is more like when you got a chance to talk, when you come there, you come to the stage, you just need, that you have to deliver it at all, anyway. So you just have nothing to do really. Whether the audience like it or not, it happened.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't expect the whole conference is gonna enjoy it. There's even in the highest rate, I think it's like maybe how I don't like it, maybe 20% kind of nice, it's okay, another 30% I don't really care. So yeah, is this something that we need to accept? And for me, back to the language barrier, it's still require me a lot of preparation initially, but when I come to deliver a talk, I don't really think about it that much anymore because I just really focus on the content. Doesn't really focus much. I mean, I look into the conference, right? But I don't really look very carefully. I just appear like you are still watching, but 100%, I think 90% focusing on the content of the second question is it about the challenge?
Yeah, the challenges, the other challenges, like the language barrier that you need to prepare more is one thing, but as an exchange, it improves your language skills, right? So it's also very good to have this. But any other challenges that you faced in order to overcome your fears and get onto the stage, or just maybe just accept the invitation?
Yeah, sure. So the first one is about preparation, like language barrier, but it's also help you. The second one is like a fact that you have to accept there's no way around, which is the anxiety of public speaking. Like I just said, it is the first frightening thing ever, even come before that. So, which means that it is even uncomfortable and you get into a dangerous situation, which I don't really know how to overcome it, because for me, when I speak in front of the small crowd, like in Vietnam and all, I just get used to it because some of the face is familiar, right? It's like if I feel like so anxious and I'm so nervous, I just try to look into the person that I know. And it is luckily in some of the conference, like in NG Rome, we had a speaker dinner, and then I know some of the speaker the day before. And the next day, I just look into them when come into set. At least they still giving you kind of thumbs up, and you start to feel a bit calm and relaxed. Other than just look into the whole conference room, which is big and spacious, and there's a lot of people watching you. And that's the second one. I think that's the challenge. The one of the most challenge, the public speaking anxiety. The third one I would say is about managing the time, because preparing a talk at a conference is very strict at time, really, because there's a lineup speaker the whole day, and if you just late for like 3-5 minutes, it's good affecting other speaker, and it's good really affecting the whole conference schedule, and you don't want it to happen, right? You wanted to, stop a bit. There's a buffer, and then maybe you can take some photo with the audience and all, and giving other speaker time to prepare the talk. So I think the time managing is tough, because you got the anxiety from the public speaking, and you just don't, or for me at least, I just couldn't remember everything that I prepared. I put it on the slide, but it's just gone. It's just my mind sometimes was blank. And at that time, it's just more like impromptu. I was not really thinking about anything, and I just tried to make it up. But come back to this thing is like really for managing the time, we should need a lot more preparation. There's some speaker, they was saying, I practiced what exactly to speak in this line. Very exact, like maybe 10 seconds on this line, 20 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Really strict. But for me, I just not there yet. I will still go with the flow and prepare the content and hope it's gonna fit in. And I try a few times at home. So that is
when you prepare, first of all, do you repeat a lot of times the talk That's the preparation you're talking about, or just reading and that. And the other thing, do you prepare by timing yourself or something of the sort to get the timing right?
Oh,
What's
okay. So
that process look like?
that's all. There's two questions. The first one is, do I just keep repeating the talk by myself? And the second one is how do I kind of managing time when I on the stage?
Yes.
So the first one is really the talk that, usually the best is like you don't really, I would say you have a talk and you should practice it. I guess it's not like just practice it by myself. So I was talking about it in Ascenda internal tech conference, for example. So at least I got a feeling how long it's going to take. I could get some of the part. And also that is a talk I was, presenting with the Angular Vietnam meetup as well. But because it's not like publicly recorded online, so still there's a room for me to talk it in a bigger conference. So when I was at Rome, I already had like twice would delivering it and also get some feedback, which like what went well and what I need to improve. So that's the first. I also practice by myself, but I at the same time was trying to do and deliver a talk at a kind of small events, or maybe you just can deliver it and ask your friend for feedback. Doesn't really have to be a bit upfront. On the second question, how do you manage the time when you are on the stage? And depends. There's conference that they prepare a clock for you. So you just, how much you have left. And in the NG room, there's on the first row, there's the organizer who preparing. Sometimes, not sometimes, like occasionally they will show banner saying you have like 10 minutes left, you have like 5 minutes left, and you have only 2 minutes left. So that you can maybe speed up on some bit or skip some part. So that is meet the time allowed, I guess.
Great.
Awesome. Thanks. So that's about the challenges. Big congratulations of overcoming them. And I totally can add on top of this that having a few or at least one person or that is likes you and wish you all the best is tremendous help. And when I was in Hungary on a local talk, I reached out to two of the Ascenda guys and like all the best, Attila and Imre, if you will ever watch. But I asked them if they could maybe ask at least one question because during the talk or after the talk, because I will not even have a chance to figure out if people are interested or not. And they were just great job of like adding question after the question.
Oh, I see.
But it was amazing because it engaged the whole audience. And because they started asking questions early during the talk, other people also did. And that makes my talk way more interesting, more natural, and reduced tons of me because I was not focused on the ring about saying everything, but just answering questions. And that was amazing. So
yeah, another trick I heard, if you don't have anyone that you know at the conference, is to look at the audience and find another. And another is the person who's always doing, like myself, I tend to do that a lot. When I'm hearing something, I tend to nod very much. And you generate some rapport that way. And even if that person is not actually interested in the talk, the sensation that they give you is of interest. So you can hook up to them, gain that confidence in a how do you say it? Yeah, gain that confidence by getting that rapport. So if I at any point I are at an audience, you can look at me and I will be doing like this all the time.
Glad to have you.
Yeah.
And aside of conferences, you don't stop on conferences. I mean, you are also a blogger and you made other publications. And summing that up, could you share if those content creation activities actually do affect your daily job? Do they give you some sort of like a bigger recognition? Maybe it is easier to document stuff, like whatever. You probably know the best. just sharing the ideas.
The content creation, it is more like for me, like personally, I do it when I like it. I used to have a list of topics that I wanted to write about during the weekend or something, but usually it just get piled up and it's getting a long list. That's just we work on the sprint and we have a backlog. We just keep adding more stuff to the backlog, which is never getting finished. So I would say it doesn't really affect the daily job because, right, what I document on the blog is usually what I was encounter when I was working at a center or at a company, right? You are trying to solve a problem and you suddenly getting a few blockers, like obstacle, and then you need to overcome it. And you need to look on Google, asking on Stack Overflow, asking your friend. And that's how I usually come up with the idea what I will write about, right? It's like something I face or I solve it, and then I just keep documenting it. It is more like a snapshot of memory. Maybe in the future, you know that you saw it before, and then you can just look it back in the blog. More like I will do it after the working hour anyway, or of course, sometimes I need to do a quick note so that I don't forget. But I don't think it's gonna affect a lot. That affect in the negative way. Obviously, when I start to writing down, it is having quite a lot of skill that we can apply on the daily job. For example, the writing skill. Because when we publish a blog post, it's more like you writing technical documentation that you wanted to share to a team. And you want the team to understand it without asking a lot of questions. So that you wanted to write it in a comprehensive way and it's articulate the idea. So that is clear for them, which is helpful when I start look back on the document quality that I write at work. And I guess it doesn't really affect the job in the negative way. It's always a supplement. It's always giving a lot of skill that could help me on the daily job. That's what I'm trying.
Awesome. Yeah, my question was more into affecting in positive way, but maybe I used just the wrong word.
Okay, no worries. So if it's positive way, there's a lot I can talk about.
Yeah, sure. Continue.
No, it's fine. No, sorry. Go ahead.
I guess we have a little bit of delay in terms of communication. I will just add, like, on me, when I publish something, it saves my time because when people reach out to me later, I can just send them the article that I already solved that. And also I learn based on what I do in the company. So when I publish something, it's kind of like a snapshot of the documentation. I can refer to the article or video or whatever. So yeah, I see some, and the other thing is that if you document the stuff, you kind of need to clean up the mess of your thoughts to produce something, right?
Yeah.
And it makes me at least understanding concepts better. So this is on my side.
I mean, I think it's also on my side. I would say, yeah, really, it's the part that you talk about when you document down on certain or problem that you solve, and then you can share it to other people later on. That is gonna save you a lot of time. And even when I start to do a pull request in that sender, and then there's some topic that I want the team to know, and I've already documented, like kind of write summarize it in my blog, so I can just personally say, if you wanted to learn about that, just look into that. That's what I'm suggesting. So you can still keep the PR content is concise and at the same time provide enough resource so that the team can look for when they wanted to. Yeah, in that writing blog, at the end, it's more like the side hobby, but it's gonna help on like improve the communication skill, the writing skill, and it's I don't know. I don't think it's having a blog with a lot of traffic could help a lot, but still, when I was seeing that there's 1,000 people visiting the blog every day from a different country, it's sometimes giving me some kind of maybe that inspiration or that motivation to if I was too lazy to write new blog, maybe I should publish a new one or something.
Do you see a big difference in terms of gaining motivation to write something if you publish internally for your teammates, for example? Because, very much.
right?
Yeah, since there's a little visitor.
Yes.
Okay. I'm back. I mean,
Welcome
Astenda is a big company, and we document a lot internally. And do you find the difference in terms of documenting something on your blog externally between documenting internally, like writing a video tutorials for the company internally that is private? Do you see the differences in terms of motivation, in terms of whatever it brings to you?
That's a great question. I would say, I mean, in any case, right, having a good documentation is bring a lot of benefit in any way, either it is internally or if it is like publicly outside. So that's is the same kind of not strategy. It is the same goal, or not a goal, man. It's like when I was doing anything, I try to create a detailed documentation so that others can see. For example, when I do my side project on GitHub, and I just keep putting a lot of stuff like how I designed this part, what time I was spending, how many time I was spending on building this project. For example, just keep providing information. It is similar to what I write at work. So when I was writing anything at work, I will try to be detailed as much as possible. And having a set of documentation at work on any kind of discussion, even like we have some nice discussion on Slack, and you just keep a link in a Notion bit, and you just mark that as like, oh, today we are discussing about maybe CSS variable and tailwind. For example, you just don't want to copy the content, it is already good. So I think, having a good documentation at work is really good. It's like sharing the context between different people, and sometimes it is a cross team, and we're gonna save quite some time. So motivation wise, obviously at work, you have to do it anyway. I mean, you should do it even you don't feel like, because it's gonna, giving you more benefit along the way. Outside of the work, maybe sometimes you lack of motivation because really there's nothing obligate you to, you have to write a blog. You don't have to, but at work, you should really do it. That's what I would say.
Yeah, just on my side, because my projects are kind of oriented on because Hanami framework is kind of a niche even in the Ruby community. My goal, or kind of like a target, is the junior developers I want, or maybe senior developers, but people that are not familiar in the framework. And I want them to bring them, make them more familiar. So make them also easier to, if we ever will want to hire them. So I mean, by my publications, I want to increase the chance that people will want to work with us, but also will have easier time when they will join to start with the new technologies or the concepts, the approaches that we take. And this kind of stuff really makes me a bit more motivated into publishing externally. So if I would have to record a tutorial about some Ruby approaches, I would rather want to record it publicly or release a blog post publicly, even in the company, but then keep it safe only for the internal purposes. This is this subtle differences that actually is a little bit important to me. And for a long time, I did not realize.
Agreed. Sounds like a good approach. Maybe I should apply.
But I totally agree, and your highlight about documenting everything all the time, especially in work, that's pretty important. So let's make it as a call of the day. Is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience? Anybody that you would maybe especially thank for being where you are right?
The last part, which is a bit tricky. So I don't choose anyone, I would say. There's a lot of people that help me along the way a lot. So obviously the earlier they are, is as important they is, I would say, because they give me a lot of motivation and all to really start it. Because starting is always the most difficult, I would say. When you already has a few engagement and you start to feel it, the later will come. But to really get started is difficult. So if I would shout out to anyone, I would say that's Bonnie from Angular Nation. She was helping me a lot, was giving me one of the few first opportunity for me to speak with other experts in Angular. So that boosting my like confidence, because you always seeing other guy as someone is really famous and they know a lot of cool stuff, and you have a chance to talk to them and you share certain experience with the expert. So really it's giving you a lot of confidence, and it's really still have me till today. So shout out to Bonnie from Angular Nation. And you guys can speak some more. I would say there's a few tips to give to someone that wanted to start but still afraid in the public speaking journey. So I just give maybe a few points, right? I still have time, I guess.
Yeah, just go on. This is awesome. Thanks.
Sure. So for someone wanted to engage into the public speaking for the first time, let's say, you don't really have to start something big. And that's important. You can start small. And started speaking at a conference is not the first thing ever that you can do, right? It's rarely you see someone just come to the community and then can speak right away at a conference. Usually people will just participate in maybe a local meetup or just a Facebook, like online group talking about technical. And then by engaging with the community over time, you start to having the feel that you want to share something. And you can start with that, just joining some community, start to just contributing by asking questions, commenting. Doesn't really have to be, right away speak at a local meetup as well. Even when you start to feel comfortable and you know some people, and then you got a lot of motivation, then start talking. And when you start to have the first talk, that's important that you can do a preparation fully, because it gives you more confidence on what you are trying to talk about. And seek for feedback from friends, from colleagues, from the people that you know in the community, so that you can improve the talk even more. One of the tricks is like you can visualize the success after you finish the talk. These are seeing people was clapping, and just imagine about what can come after all of this has. I guess that's important.
It's extremely important. And when you pre-record the talk that is released later, you just completely don't have this part, right? So this is the great difference between live talks and recording videos, for example. So yeah, pretty cool advice. Thanks.
I think I still have two more. So first is start small. The second one is prepare. And sixth, then the third one is visualize the success. And just when you are there, just focus on the content. Try to deliver your best. Try to, entertain the audience a little bit. You don't really have to deliver too much information. You don't really have to speak really fast and try to pack a lot of content. Sometimes you wanted to, giving key takeaway to the audience. So just speak slowly. Just focus on the point that you want people to remember, because 90% of the case, they just forget most of the thing. So just try to focus on the point, the strong point that you want the audience to remember about the talk and what they wanted to remember about you. So just, that's focus on the content and entertain the audience. And just, I think at the end, just keep practicing and seek for the support if you really need to. There's a lot of mentor over there. They was really, willing to help people. It's just no one was reaching out. If you are the one who reach out and say, hey, I got this idea and I really wanted to deliver at this conference and I get selected. And maybe you can spend maybe 10, 15 minutes, look through my high level description. Maybe you can already give some feedback, but just be active and seek for support if you need to. Don't just take it too hard on yourself. So I think that's all. Speaking at a conference can be challenging, but it could be a valuable and a rewarding experience that you just couldn't get the same somewhere else. So I think it's worth the effort. It's worth the hassle.
Thanks. Thank you very much for all those tips, and wish you a lot of success in the upcoming conferences. I hope I will have a chance to meet you in person and get this cool t-shirt you have right now. So
For sure.
before we end, how people could reach out to you and to follow what you are publishing?
So I have my Twitter, as you can see on the screen. And if you are listening, then maybe Seb will include my Twitter into the footnote. But it's as you can see, it's a bit difficult to pronounce. So on Twitter, and I have my own website where I publishing the blog that Seb was mentioning at Trung with TRUNGK18.com. It's now the domain was weird because I got it when I was in high school, and now it's too late.
Everything will be in the show notes. Maybe except the email, I will try to like remove the @ sign. Do not keep bots spamming you. But thank you very much, and thank you very much for attending or accepting our invitation. I hope these insights will help anybody that want to start with this public speaking. I hope we'll have a chance to meet each other again and have a nice day.
Oh, thanks. Once again, thanks for having me. Thanks for organizing this amazing podcast. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.